Hi, this is my second video about the Disney College program. This one is about the interview process that you go through. As I mentioned before, I kind of did it on a lark. I was actually investigating different aspects of taking a vacation to Disney, and I happened to see an ad about the Disney College program. So I went in and I did the initial application, which was super simple. The one that's on the Disney College program website, they have up different times of the year when they're doing it. There's like the spring advantage, fall advantage, that kind of stuff. I mean, the first part is incredibly simple. They basically wanted my name, my jobs I've done. You could put in an actual resume. I just put in a link to my LinkedIn resume. It didn't really seem like this part was all that important. I don't know. Do you want to work in Walt Disney World or Walt Disneyland or either one? Also, do you want to do the regular program or the Advantage, which is longer? It's like 2 semesters instead of 1. I wanted to work in Walt Disney World. I've been to Walt Disney World before. It just seemed like it was much better for me to stay on the East Coast because my family is all on the East Coast. At the time, I didn't even know about housing and stuff. I wouldn't have been able to afford to pay the housing fees that are associated with the Disneyland college program, so that's something you would want to consider. The other thing is they're going to ask you about roles. Roles are jobs. That's the Disney term, because Disney is entertainment, so you're a performer. So I hadn't really looked into the roles too much before I applied, because like I said, this was all kind of like fly-by-night for me. I did keep a little notepad of what I put down for my roles when I was doing it, so I could refer to it later if need be. There are so many choices. What I really wanted was Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique, which is connected to Cinderella's castle. Last time I went to Disney, you couldn't even go in Cinderella's castle, so I think that's really cool. What you do there is you're a fairy godmother in training, like Cinderella, you're the fairy godmother. But you're the fairy godmother in training, not actual fairy godmother. And when little girls come in, they can have boys too, but it's mainly, little girls, small young girls, like 5 and under, come in, and you get to do their hair in different hairstyles. And I know they have, like, for that new Princess Sophia, and they have, like, an updo, and there's different ones. I've actually read somewhere that the training for this is incredibly short, which I'm surprised about, because my sister's a hairstylist. I really wanted that because I'm doing childcare. So, another thing that I thought that I would really love to do is PhotoPass. They also didn't have PhotoPass last time I was in Disney, which was a long time ago. PhotoPass, people, they walk around the park and they will take photos of you for free on your camera, but they also do this thing where they take their own, nice like DSLR Disney camera and take photos, and then later you can choose to buy them. I actually think like that's really convenient if you can afford that. But I've always had an interest in photography, either as a hobby or actually in job. I almost applied for a program like that a few years ago. So, I've done like my own modeling photos and stuff like that for other people, so I really do love to take photos. And then the other 2 things that I said were like very high interest for me were character attendant, which is you assist Disney characters, either like face characters, people who are like princesses and things like that, or fur characters, which would be like Mickey, Goofy, and that kind of thing. And then the other thing was character performer, but you have to go to an audition for character performer, so you really don't have to tell them how much you want to do that, because it doesn't really affect getting into the program so much. I'll explain that whenever I talk about my character performer audition, which I did do. Moderate interest, I put lifeguard. I've actually wanted to do that before in the past, but I never got around to doing it in my life. But I did get CPR certified last year, thinking that I actually might do it, and I never ended up doing it. Hospitality, vacation planner, concierge, and costuming. I did not realize at the time, it's not like I've never heard of people going to school for hospitality degrees, but at the time I was not in the headspace thinking, oh, those are the people who apply for those roles. I was just like, I would be comfortable doing that. I would be fine helping people plan their vacations. I plan all the vacations that myself and my sister take together. So, I mean, and there are a lot of different combinations for that. I think it's like 250 or something. So if you wouldn't be comfortable with that, you obviously don't want to choose it. That's the same thing for any of the roles. Costuming, I wasn't really sure exactly what that was. I later found out sometimes you get to work with the shows. They have like shows in Disney. But I think a lot of it is mainly like dry cleaning and fixing costumes. So you don't really get guest interaction. You're going to be doing interaction with all the cast members, the people who work at Disney World. And I still thought that would be cool because I love clothes and fashion and costumes especially. So even though I thought it might be hot and like I wouldn't get as much guest interaction, I thought that would be pretty cool. I put low interest in merchandise and attractions. For me, it's not like I can't do merchandise and I would totally do it, but I've had regular merchandise jobs, retail jobs in real life, and that wasn't something I was like, oh, I'm so excited, because I was like, I've done that before. So I was just like, yeah, I'd do it, but it's not like I need to do it. And attractions, I don't know. I was just like, I'll do it, but it wasn't something. Some people are really gung-ho and they want to do attractions and they have a specific attraction in mind, and I don't know, for some reason it just wasn't like, I need that one. So I was just like, yeah, low interest. And then you can put no interest, and that means you will not be considered at all for this stuff. Supposedly. I'll go into that later. No interest, I put food and beverage, and that included fast food and sit-down restaurants. I've worked in both, and I didn't really care for it. So, I didn't want to get stuck doing a job like that and then not be able to complete the program going into it knowing it's something I don't want to do. I said no on custodial, and I said no on housekeeping, not because I can't clean things. I'm completely comfortable with that, but more because I feel like when I am around someone who's doing custodial work or a housekeeper when I'm staying at a hotel, I feel like I'm in their way. So I feel like if that was my job, I would constantly feel like I was in the guest way. That's people who come to Disney. So I didn't want to do a job that I'd constantly feel uncomfortable doing. I also put no interest in main entrance, recreation, hopper, bell service, and transportation for various reasons. There are people who are completely opposite of me. There are some people who cannot swim, so they obviously put down no interest in lifeguarding. So that's the only main part of the initial application you need to worry about. A lot of people get really freaked out about what is then the web-based interview. Some people do not get to do it at all. I got the invitation for the web-based interview 2 to 3 hours after I put in the initial application. It was late on a Monday night. The applications opened, I believe, that previous Friday. This was February 10th, 2014. Basically, what the web-based interview is it's very simple. It's one of those personality interviews. If you've put in a job application in about the last decade online, it'll look completely familiar to you. It's just like, oh, do you show up early or late for work? Do you do drugs? I mean, very basic stuff that if you've ever had a job, you're going to completely know, this kind of thing. Some people were really worried about it. It says there's a time frame and everything. You have to do it within so much time. I'm fast at computers, so maybe that was part of my thing, but I didn't feel like I didn't have enough time. I felt like it was done. I was done with it like that. They give you up to 40 minutes to do the whole thing. It probably took me way under 20 minutes, honestly. But a lot of people worry about that. They do tell you these are Disney's instructions. I'm referring to an email I got when I did it. Use a computer with a reliable high-speed internet connection. Be in a quiet room so nobody's bothering you. You can stop the interview and come back to it later. I didn't do that. Like I said, there's a limited amount of time. And the questions are multiple choice or 1 to 5. Oh, and the thing that people said is you really need to make sure you're consistent on the answers, because basically personality tests, I'm sorry, that's what they are. They're going to try to trick you on stuff. So don't put down like one thing here and then completely go against what you said on this side. Like I said, it's pretty simple. Some people do not get past the WBI. I think probably just because they're not used to doing them. I don't know. It didn't seem that hard to me. Like I said, maybe it's like an experience thing. So, very quickly after I completed the WBI, like it took me 2 to 3 hours to get the invitation to do that after the initial application. I would see way faster. I want to say it was under an hour, maybe under half hour. I got the invitation to do a telephone interview, and I was so excited. And that's the last interview before they decide. And, wait, let me go back. After the initial application, you have 3 days to go in and do the WBI. I went right in and did it immediately. After the WBI, you have 3 days to go in and schedule your phone interview. I went in right away and tried to schedule my phone interview. The problem is that all the spots were taken up because people were flooding the site, of course. They were very excited because it's Disney. And I kept refreshing the page. I went to sleep finally because it was late. And I kept refreshing the page the next day. And I was eventually able to schedule it. But because spaces were so limited, I had to wait like 10 days to do my phone interview, which I was like very nervous, and you over worry about stuff, or I do. So, what I did was, of course, like I said, I worry about stuff. And I looked up what everybody has done for the phone interview. And there's tons of YouTube videos. There's people who've recorded their actual phone interview. Usually you can't hear like the Disney person on the other end who's interviewing them, but you can hear their answers and stuff. I didn't think that helped me so much as the fact that people put up interview questions on Tumblr about what they're most likely to ask you. And some people were like, this is cheating to know the questions that they're going to ask you. Actually, it's really smart, like before you do an actual job interview, when you go into the company, you want to research the company and what job you'd want to have. So I think it's the same kind of thing. They're going to ask you about your top roles. As I said before, I kind of did that blindly, so I went in and reinvestigated all the roles. Basically, what I found out after I joined the Facebook groups, which can be good and bad, but I like them, I made like 60 Facebook friends from there, and there's some really nice people. But what I found out is all my top choices are very competitive. I've read there's only 20 to 40 spaces available in the entirety of both the Magic Kingdom and Downtown Disney to do Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique, and I'm guessing that includes full-time employees as well as CPs. So I was like, yeah, there's a very small chance that I'm going to get that role. Not that I'm not going to talk it up in the interview, but I want to have other stuff on the back burner to talk about. Then I saw that a lot of people were very unhappy with character attendant because you get a lot of angry people. So I was like, I'm not going to play that up as much in the interview as I would have before, but also very competitive because there's only so many characters to go around. Character performer, they're just going to ask you when you do the phone interview, if you put that down, where do you plan on attending? And for me, I'm in Pennsylvania. The closest one was Philadelphia. They're just kind of trying to get an idea of how many people are going to show up. And the other one was PhotoPass, and I also heard that is incredibly competitive. Yay! But I did talk about that a lot in my interview. I talked about how I do photography as a hobby, and actually I linked that up with the boutique thing because I was talking about doing hair and makeup for photo shoots as my hobby. So those kind of work together. And I talked about how I'm in childcare and everything. That's going to be my career. But since I knew there was a very slim chance of getting these things, I wanted to be ready with other things I would like to do. So I looked at all my choices that I had previously made, and I thought, there's a good chance they need... Well, not a good chance, but they need a lot of people to work in merchandise. And I have merchandise background. So I'm going to play that up even though it's not like the thing I would die to do there. So I looked it up and I looked at all of the different stores and everything. Yeah, very thorough. And when I talked to the woman that I had as my interviewer, she was very nice. I told her that my favorite park is Hollywood Studios. Sorry, it used to be called MGM and I couldn't remember for a moment. But I even said, because I was so excited, I was even like, yeah, if you choose me for merchandise, that would be my favorite place to work. And she's like, I can't guarantee anything, but I will definitely make note of that. And I was like, oh, thinking that's so cool. But I also talked up the lifeguarding. A lot of people on Facebook said they were asked about lifeguarding, even though they put it as low interest. And as I said before, that's actually something I've wanted to do before. So I talked that up, and they asked me a lot of questions. And could you do all the different kinds of training and everything like that? And it's like physically demanding and stuff. And I was like, yeah, I've looked up the videos. There's official videos out there about it from Disney. There's a DCP interns YouTube channel, and you can watch all the stuff on there, like a day in the life of a lifeguard. And I also looked up people who took the course for it and worked down there, and you can see all that stuff. So I was fully prepared with that. As I said, I don't think there's anything wrong with preparation. I think that's a great idea. Whenever you set your phone interview up, it says that you should be ready for them to call you 15 minutes before or after, whenever they're supposed to do it, because other people's interview times are going to run over or under or whatever, and that's why it would be different. And it can last 20 to 30 minutes. They recommend you block an hour off for your interview, starting at 15 minutes before. The first interview I could get was at 8 a.m. in the morning, and I had to be at school at 9. So I usually would leave my house like 15 or 20 minutes till 9, but I was like, if for some reason they call late and the whole thing runs over, I'll be slightly late for my school. My teacher would understand. They actually called me 15 minutes before, so 7:45. It was completely cool. And the interview only lasted about 20 minutes. Like I said, I was completely prepared. There was an initial problem. She called me on my cell phone, and my cell phone does not always have good reception, so she called me right back on my house phone. I asked her if she needed it, and she said I put it in on my application. I wasn't sure if I did or not. And one of the things that I did that some people recommended that sounds really silly is they were like, you should be smiling during your interview. People can hear if you smile over the telephone. And I was like, sounds really silly. And then it was like, if you do not think that you smile all the time, and I don't, then you should put a mirror in front of yourself while you are doing the interview. So I did. And it did make me smile more, and I wore my Beauty and the Beast skirt. That's how I was dressed for school, in a top, because I felt like it was lucky or something. I don't know. And, yeah. Oh, they'll call from a block number, a blocked Florida number. I think it shows the area code is Florida or whatever. So you can't call them back. That's the point. I've heard of people missing the call, and they let them reschedule it, but I didn't want to worry about any of that. Other things, they're going to ask you standard stuff that you would be asked at any job interview, your work history, your skills, concerning different jobs. They're going to ask you why you want to work for Disney, which is important. They're going to ask you your top roles. Some people said they only got asked 1 or 2, some got asked 4. Some people said they asked them about roles that they specifically said no on. So a lot of people, it seemed like, were getting asked, are you sure you don't want to do quick service food and beverage? That's like the fast food thing. Are you sure you don't want to do custodial? Because they really need a lot of people to work those jobs. I did not want to do either of them. When my interview was getting ready to happen, like the night before, I was worried, like, I'm not going to get anything. They really need people for those. Maybe I should tell them I'll do custodial. And I asked about it on Facebook, and people are like, you should really do, what you want to do. Don't, and I think they're right, because you don't want to get put in a role that's not right for you. So I did not, but they didn't ask me personally. I know they asked some people. They did ask me, you put down, this is what the woman said, you put down you do not want to do quick service food and beverage. But you put merchandise, would you be willing to work in a store that sells prepackaged food? And I said, yeah, I'm totally cool with that. So, I kind of felt like if I didn't get any of my top roles and I got it, I would probably get merchandise, because that's what we talked about a lot. Oh, I also want to say that a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, but some of the people who are neurotic like me write down notes and note cards and stuff like that, and I did write down note cards, and I slightly referred to them, but by that point, I had researched so much, and I knew exactly what I wanted to say, and, how I wanted to talk about myself, and my interests, and my skills. And surprisingly, there are a lot of skills that you can learn in your minimum wage jobs, if that's all you've had, and that's all I've had. I laugh when I'm nervous. So, not like a ha-ha-ha laugh, but like like a giggle. And I think that helped me, because it sounds like, I'm a happy, positive person. Not that I can't be happy and positive, and that, I will be. It's Disney and stuff, and you have to be. I know that's part of the job. But I think that helped me. After you do the interview, usually late that night, I did my interview, like I said, it was 7:45 in the morning. Around 11:30 almost midnight, I got the thank you for interviewing email that people get. I think almost everybody got it, or everybody got it. People were really worried, like, if they hadn't gotten it at a certain time, and other people were saying that they wait until later in the day when they're done with everything, because some people have phone interviews at night. I wanted to get mine out in the morning, and like I said, it was the first thing I could do. After you do all of the interviews, that is when the waiting begins. And you can start to really worry, because Disney tells you you need to check your dash and your email all the time. If you get an invitation for a job, you are expected to go through all the steps, or at least have started all the steps. I'm not sure on that. I think it's actually at least started them, whatever, within 3 days of getting that email. So some people in like the Facebook group where we were all freaking out worrying are like, oh no, I'm just like waiting a week to check my email. And people are like, if you wait a week and they send you an invitation, you're screwed, because you cannot do that job anymore. So yeah, I check mine every day. I checked it multiple times a day. There were times when I disconnected from the internet and didn't look at it for a few hours, or only checked once or twice a day, but I still checked every day. And that was February 10th, and it was, let me check this real quick. March 4th. They didn't actually start, I want to say it was a week or so, at least, after I had done my interview, that they even started sending out acceptances, judging by Facebook and the internet. So I really wasn't that worried for about a week. Then there was a huge wave of acceptances, that's what people call them, and it was mainly fast food and, quick service food and beverage, and custodial, and I hadn't applied for either of those roles, so I was like, oh, okay. And then some people started getting like the top roles, and I was like, oh, I really want those roles. And then I wasn't hearing anything. And my main worry was I wanted to go to a character performer audition, entertainment audition, which took place on March the 5th, the one that I was going to. And March the 5th was going to be 2 weeks from whenever I did my phone interview, and supposedly within 2 weeks they're going to tell you if you're at least pended or no longer in consideration, NLICD. NLIC, I don't know, that's how people write on the internet. And I was really worried because I thought I was going to be on a bus to Philadelphia and get nixed on the way there and not even know, because I'd have like no cell phone service in the middle of, nowhere. Luckily, they sent out, well, actually, let me backtrack, February 21st, which was 11 days after I interviewed, there was a huge pending wave. Pending is basically limbo. And it says, we don't have to tell you anything until April 18th. And I was like, oh my god, do I really have to wait almost 2 months to find out if I'm going to have this or not? I really want to know now. I think everybody's like that. So, I got pended on February 21st. That's why I was so worried about going to the audition, because I heard that, apparently it's official, that if you are NLICD'd, you're not allowed to go into the audition because it's Disney College Program related, even though the audition I went to was for other roles too. I don't really understand that part to an extent. To an extent I understand it. I don't know. But that's what I was so worried about. The night before, literally the night before, and I left to go to Philadelphia the night before because I had to take multiple modes of transportation. People started getting acceptances who had been pended like myself. So, I was leaving my home around 8:15 that night on March 4th. And all day people were being accepted, and I was checking it in school whenever I had my lunch break and stuff. And when I got home, I was refreshing my dashboard, and I was like, and then it was after 5, and I was like, nothing. I'm not going to know. I'm not going to know tomorrow. I was like, I'm going to get an LIC tomorrow. And it was like 5:20. I got, congratulations! And I was like, oh my god. So, I got accepted, and I freaked out because I was very excited, and I ran downstairs to tell, who I live with, and I was like, oh, I was accepted into Disney, because they'd been hearing about this at this point for, almost a month. So they were like, oh, congratulations, what did you get? And I'm like, I have no idea, because my computer just froze up, but I'm in! So, Then I came back upstairs, fixed my computer to an extent, and I found out my role, and my role is lifeguard, and I'm very happy with it and excited. So, this is an extremely long video, but I would hope fairly informative and kind of show you like how you can worry about this whole thing. So, it's all of the interview steps combined. And next time I will talk about what my actual role is going to be as a lifeguard.